This is so heavy!
G'day legends, I hope you're all fantastic. I've got a Boogie Lonestar special to try out today. Shout out to friends of the channel and all around mad dogs, Kale and Neil, for loaning me this amp. This is a 2x12 version. It's got EL84s in the power section. I think you can get up to like 30, 35 watts. 2 channels, one's kind of cleaner than the other. You can clone them, built-in spring reverb, all the usual kind of boogie shenanigans. This has 2 WGS Reapers loaded in it, which are definitely not the stock speakers, but I'm gonna mic it up with a Cascade Fathead in the room here with me and have some fun with it. Looking forward to it because I've seen and heard plenty of clips with the Lonestars and they always sound amazing. You'll know that I'm like a massive Mark Series and Rectifier fan, so I feel like I'm kind of collecting another one of the Mesa Dragon Balls here, trying out the Lonestar. Let's get into it. If I can stand up again.
Oh my gosh!
We'll get started with some Strat Tones. This is a Buddy Guy signature Strat with some gold lace sensors in it. Life is too short to hear this amp without the built-in reverb, which I think sounds pretty glorious. So I've got it at around noon. The reverb's on the back panel. One of those things where it's like, hey, you probably want to set and forget this, so we'll put it on the back. Slightly annoying for making a video because you can't see where the reverb's at, but it also means that I'm less inclined to touch it. Let's hear this on the neck pickup. Let's twist some knobs, make some noise, and probably pull some guitar faces. Let's go. That is pretty tasty. It's so easy to get this really big, fat, punchy, clean sound out of this amp. And in the room, you know, the speaker's right there for me. It's not too harsh like sometimes clean sounds can be, where they just absolutely take your head off. This is so nicely voiced, you know. I guess it's kind of at the wattage and at the size where people would be using this as their main backline amp and monitoring themselves with it. And I really like that standing right in front of it. Like I said, it's not too harsh. I am currently running it in 5 watt mode. You can see where the master is and it is plenty loud. Let's hear the difference between 30, 15 and 5. We'll start on 5 and then go to 15 and then 30. It's got the whoosh on the 30 watt mode right there. This to me, even though it's got EL84s, still has that kind of magical fantasy Fender tone that I've always dreamed of getting, that you sometimes get out of a really nice Fender, but this just has it. It does sound a little bit different to the kind of typical Mark Series clean that I am used to out of my Boogie Mark IV, but we should probably do a comparison between them to just see if that is the speaker that I'm using, the way I'm micing it, or if it's just my bias because I like the way this sounds so much. So I'm gonna bring the gain all the way up on this one, and I find that with a Strat, really pumping up the mid-range works great here. The treble and bass controls I'll also play around with, but the zones that I've got them in are just where I like them, so they're not going to move that much. So gain up. as you just heard, the clean channel with a Les Paul is pretty glorious if you like those kind of bluesy tones from the late 60s, early 70s, like that Super Sessions, Mike Bloomfield kind of thing. I think he was using a super reverb or something like that with an old Les Paul. I don't know, it gives me that vibe. Let's hear the drive channel now. A little bit of reverb on the drive channel. I'm on 5-watt mode, neck pickup of the Les Paul. Oh, sweet sustain. Let's try the Strat. Almost the same settings. I'm on 15-watt mode now. I've just brought the master volume down because it's starting to get pretty loud in the room. You know, normally I record cabinets in a separate cabinet room, but I'm sitting in the room with it for a change. The advantage is I can get that sweet feedback. All right, back on the Strat. That's what I've always wanted Fender amps to sound like, and I'm just kind of getting that out of this amp straight up. It's like a love at first sight, or love at first stank, however you want to talk about it. The drive channel has a pretty interesting thing going on, this 3-way voicing switch. I think down here, this is called normal. You just heard it on, ooh, I just bumped the mic. That's not a good thing. Don't do that at home, kids. This is the normal voicing. Goes normal, thick, or normal, thicker. We heard thicker, let's hear normal. And that was thicker. If you're familiar with boogies, you know, they normally have this kind of fat switch, like a Mark series has a pull switch. Studio preamp, I think, I got a studio preamp right there. There's lead fat on that. There's like a 3-way version of that. Let's see how much gain we can get out of this. I'm gonna grab my PRS SC245 and drop C. Play around with the master volume for a few different reasons on this. So I've connected it to my Fractal X load. That's going to my Axe FX where I am loading up a cabinet IR. And the first thing that I want to try is how Mark series can I get this to sound. I know it's not the same topology or anything like that. It obviously lacks the graphic EQ. But because I'm running it into the Fractal, what I can do is add a like boogie style 5-band EQ. So you'll hear it without the EQ, and then with it, I'm on the drive channel, lots and lots of gain. I've kind of turned the bass down, the mid-range is quite low, the treble and presence are up a little bit. I'm on 30-watt mode with the master, where you see it, just a little bit below, say like 11 o'clock. The other nice thing about a low box is I can crank the master on channel 1 and not destroy my eardrums. So I've loaded this with an EV IR. It's going to be pretty smooth sounding. I think smoother sounding than the speakers that are in the cab at the moment. But I think this really showcases the kind of touch sensitivity and responsiveness you can get out of this first channel with just your guitar volume control. So it'll be on the neck pickup, and I'll start with it low and just gradually bring it up. It's awesome. Now I think with this particular IR, cranking up the presence, and the master backed off a little bit on the 30-watt mode. You know, we absolutely slammed it just then with it all the way up, and it was pretty cool, but you could kind of hear it was starting to fall apart a little bit. So I think if you wanted this as like a blues machine, we don't really need pedals or anything else like that. Kind of the settings that I've got it at the moment are pretty awesome. And lastly, I've got my green PRS, JB in the bridge, Jazz in the neck. On the drive channel, not crazy amounts of gain. They're both at noon or below on there. There's a pretty good rock and roll amp with this kind of setup. And again, you know, anything greenbacky is going to make it kind of sound like a Marshall, and this passes the smell test in my opinion. pull up stumps there. This amp is pretty fantastic. I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the different combinations, either the speakers that it's got in there at the moment or with the load box and some different impulse responses. Didn't use any pedals in this video. I guess the only trick that I did use when I was using the load box was that like post graphic EQ thing to kind of scoop out the mids and get a pseudo Mark series thing going on with it. This clearly excels at a few tones, you know, that super punchy, fat, dumbly, two-rock clean thing on channel 1 is worth the price of entry alone. This is one of the best feeling amps to play in a room that I've ever tried in my life. Pretty stunning. And then the drive channel can do that really smooth, touch-sensitive thing. It can do the kind of rock and roll thing. It can do the Texas blues thing. It's just so well voiced. And I think if you're somebody who is maybe not into super insane high gain, like I am, I love a Mark Series amp for that. If you're into the mid-gain tones, there's like the Mark Series amp of the mid-gain tones. And I know people who are Mark Series aficionados are going to be going, well, Leon, you can do all that stuff on a Mark Series. You certainly can, but it doesn't sound exactly like this. I do need to do that Mark IV versus Lonestar comparison. While I have this, let me know if there's any other things you want to hear. And again, send Kale and Neil some love in the comments below for letting me borrow this amp. It is absolutely stunning. Neil, don't sell this amp. You are going to regret it. I think it's an amazing piece of equipment. It does weigh close to 40 kilos, which is pretty mental, though. It's like a hernia waiting to happen. But as they say, you get that on the big jobs. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If I missed a trick or something, let me know in the comments as well. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching.